Hi there. Today I'd like to show you one of my favourite songs, which is Redemption Song by Bob Marley. It's a great song to know on acoustic guitar because it's an awesome party song. Everyone knows it and they love to sing along. So without further ado, let's dive in. There's three separate parts I'd like to show you, which is the intro, the verse and the chorus. They're all pretty simple, but it's a case of putting them all together. So, the first part, the intro, sounds like this. Pretty simple. To get it sounding nice and clean, you want to break it down into 4 little chunks. It's easy to remember a small part and then put it together with other small parts than it is to put one long string of notes together. So let's look at the first 4 notes on their own. They look like this. We've got the 3rd fret on the low E string, the open string on the A string, the 2nd fret on the A string, and then we go back down to our first note, which is the 3rd fret here. So our first 4 notes sound like that. That's our first little chunk. So we remember this as being the first chunk. The second chunk, we move our middle finger to the 3rd fret on the A string. It sounds like that. So we're starting here. 3rd fret of the A string, first finger, index finger, on the 2nd fret on the D string, then we take it off and we play open D string, and then we place it back on the 2nd fret, but this time on the A string, so we end there. Sounds like this. 3rd fret, 2nd fret on D, open string on D, 2nd fret on A. Put it together with the first chunk. So if you remember that, it sounds like this. That's our first chunk. So we play the first one and then the second one. We start to recognise it. It's a lot easier than remembering a string of notes. Now what you'll notice is that I'm using 2 separate fingers to do the different frets. I'm saying that this finger, my middle finger, is going to take care of everything that comes on the 3rd fret, and my first finger is going to take care of everything on the 2nd fret. This way, I'm not jumping my hand about trying to hit all the notes with one finger. I just keep my hand in one place the whole time, and for now, this may seem a little tricky, but once you start becoming more advanced, you'll find it's incredibly useful, and it'll save you a lot of wasted effort, and also it'll stop you getting pains in your wrist as well by overstretching your fingers. So it's a good thing, a good habit to get into from the very start. So our first 2 chunks the first half. The second half sounds like this. And we're going to do the same thing with this. We're going to take the first chunk, which will sound like this. Only 4 notes. Again, we're starting on the 3rd fret on the low E. This time we're going straight to the open string on the A. So here. Then the 2nd fret on the A. Open string on the D. So we play 3rd fret on the E, we go to the open A string, the 2nd fret A string, and then the open D string. That's our 3rd chunk. There's only one more, so we're done with the 1st, 2nd and 3rd. The first one sounds like this. 2nd one sounds like this. 3rd one sounds like this. The last one, we're going to start again on the 3rd fret, on the A string this time. And we just run down the scale from the 3rd fret on the A string to the 2nd fret, to the open string, and then back down to the 3rd fret on the E string, which is our G note for the G chord, which is the key of the song. So the entire thing all together with all the little chunks put together sounds like this. We'll play it twice. There you go, that's the whole intro. It can take a little bit of practice because all the frets are very close to each other, so it's hard to remember what order things are in. Break it down into little sections like I showed you, and you should have it very quickly. Alright, on to the verse. Okay, so now we've got our intro down, it's time to learn the verse. It sounds like this. Pretty straightforward. We've got a G major chord to start with, and our strumming pattern is going to be our standard acoustic strumming pattern. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now the most important thing with the strumming is that you keep your arm moving in between the whole time. So I don't stop moving my arm when I'm not strumming. It keeps going like a pendulum the entire time. Keeping the rhythm of the song the whole time. Okay, so G major for 1 bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. E minor for 1 bar. E minor. Looks like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first 2 bars of the verse look like this. G. Move to C major and a slightly different strumming pattern because the rhythm changes a little bit. In this case, we go C major and we strum it down, down. It's just 2 beats, so it's only half a bar. So that 1 bar has a rhythm like this. Back to our original strumming pattern. Now that is a C major chord, standard C major. 3rd fret, 2nd fret, open, 1st fret, open on the high E string for half a bar. Now we're moving to a passing chord, which is a fragment of a G major chord. What we do is we take this finger off, this finger off. This finger goes here to the 2nd fret on the A string. We leave that string, the D string and the G string open, and our pinky is going to jump into action onto the 3rd fret of the B string. We play the middle 4 strings. You can leave the high in there as well. That sounds quite nice. Now these 4 strings part of a G major chord, but we don't want to change to a G major. We just want to use some of the flavour of a G major to ease the transition between a C major and an A minor chord. So we go. Nice and simple. It takes a little bit of getting used to. You can change like this. But if you see what my hand's doing, having to do to accommodate this change, it's a lot easier to simply move the middle finger and the pinky because you don't have to move your wrist. And again, this is something that's worth pointing out because it'll save you a lot of hassle in the long run. Finish here on an A minor chord, which is open string on the A, 2nd fret on the D string, 2nd fret on the G string, 1st fret on the B string, and then the open high E string. Nice and simple. So if we put the whole thing together, it'll sound a lot like this. time, you'll change to a D major chord instead of an A minor chord when you go to the chorus. So it'll sound like this instead. Drop into the chorus. Okay, time to learn the chorus. Alright, it's chorus time. This is nice and straightforward. There's only 4 chords and we've played them all before. So it's just a case of learning the correct order for them. So, again, we start with a G major chord. Start with G, 3, 4, 1 bar. We shift our index finger and our middle finger both up by 1 string. So the index finger is now on our D string on the 2nd fret, and the middle finger is now on the A string on the 3rd fret. So it sounds like that. This gives us a variation of a standard C major chord, which we tend to call C2. It's a shorthand. So we have couple of additional notes that we don't have in a normal C major chord. It's quite nice to change to this from a G major chord because it's very straightforward with only 2 fingers moving. So we have G, 1 bar, C2 for half a bar, D major for half a bar. On that very last one, I'm placing my pinky onto the 3rd fret on the high E. Give us what we call a D sus4. It's no longer a standard D major, but it leads very easily back to G major, which is where we're going. So the first half of the chorus sounds like this. Now the only variation in the whole thing is that we lead back to an E minor. The 3rd repeat of the chorus, rather than starting with a G major, starts with an E minor instead. So it sounds like this. Simple. G, C, D, G, C, D, E minor, C, D, G, C, D. Nice and straightforward. So if we put the entire song together, we should get this. There is one more small piece, which is a little guitar break in the centre, which sounds a little bit like this. If you want to really impress your friends, you can pull that off fairly simply with an E minor chord for 1 bar, C major for half a bar, take the same C major chord, and you slide it up by 2 frets, so your ring finger is now resting on the 5th fret, and your index finger on the 3rd. And you get a D major chord with a couple of open strings in there that clash a little bit, so that gives you a nice airy sounding chord. It sounds like this. What I'm doing is I'm using all downstrokes. I'm also using the edge of the palm of my hand right at the very, very edge of the strings, where they cross over the saddle here, to create a muted effect. To help restrain the volume. So there you go. That's the intro, the verse, the chorus, and the middle section, all in one go. I hope you enjoyed it. If there's anything you didn't understand, there's a lot of resources on my website. The link is in the description of the video. And if you'd like to book a lesson, please get in contact with me. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.